On this side of the law, on that side of the law, who is right?
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Law Talk. I'm Mark the Attorney Judson.
Jonathan, Law Dawg, from the marshes of Cameron Parish.
To the courtrooms of Calcasieu, this is Law Talk, answering common legal questions with pragmatic answers pertaining primarily to South Louisiana, Cameron, Calcasieu parishes, and other parts in the surrounding area. So today's topic is going to be community property.
Law. Family law. Back.
Well, it's ownership of property, community property. What's yours is mine. What's mine is yours. You know, for those of us who are married out there, we know that our spouse has everything, and that's the end of the story. That'll be it for this episode.
Well, sounds like a wonderful institution.
Yeah, that's right. Marriage is a wonderful institution. It just doesn't feel that way on an everyday basis. I say that.
You know, who wants to live in an institution?
Community property. In community property states, Louisiana is a community property state. So is Texas, by the way. Everything that's acquired during the existence of the marriage is presumed community property. That means it's presumed to be owned 50-50, undivided ownership between the spouses, right? That's even in gay marriages. So 50-50 ownership, community property, if it is acquired during the existence of the marriage. Same for debt, and same for assets, whatever it is. All right. Exceptions.
Except when you acquire property after you're married, but it comes from a succession.
Okay.
I think that's considered separate.
Right. That would be called separate property. So inherited property is never community property. Inherited property is always separate property. It doesn't belong to the non-inheriting spouse.
That's the only exception that comes to mind. Is there others?
Yes, you do them all the time. Car wreck money, personal injury proceeds, recovery for personal injuries. All right. Not necessarily lost wages, but personal injury, pain and suffering.
Pain and suffering.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or an undescribed settlement that doesn't have a description to it. Doesn't break it down. That is generally viewed as separate property. A third category of separate property is anything that the spouse signs off on, right? So if the spouse signs off on it, saying, I acknowledge that this asset is my spouse's separate property. That is separate property, okay? And there are other opportunities for separate property. But the big deal for everybody to understand is that unless you have a prenuptial agreement, sometimes called an antenuptial agreement, or if you don't have something in writing that says something else, everything that is acquired during the existence of the marriage, regardless who paid for it, regardless who earned the money, regardless of whose paycheck it came out of, it is owned 50-50 by both spouses. That is significant for a couple of reasons. Obviously, it comes up in divorce. When we have a divorce, we're dividing property. Dividing separate property is a big deal. But it also comes up in real estate ownership issues. So if land is sold, all owners have to sell the land, right? So if land was purchased during the marriage, and a spouse's name doesn't appear in the deed, it doesn't matter. That spouse has a community property interest unless it's
got to get their signature.
Right. So you've got to get their signatures or you have non-merchantable title. Okay. So you got to make sure that if you got a spouse, that your spouse is either signing deeds with you or your spouse is acknowledging that it's separate property. You got to have something in the public record that says that it's okay for this property to be sold only with my spouse's signature.
Hypothetical.
Yes, sir.
I own some land with a note.
Yep.
I get married.
Yep.
I continue to pay the note.
Yep.
That property stays separate, right?
The land itself stays separate.
But the money I'm paying, is that considered community funds now?
Yes. You are using community funds to pay a separate debt.
Even though same salary, same income?
Feels the same, looks the same, smells the same, not the same. Why? Because you got married. You done went and messed it all up.
So even though the spouse, assuming you get divorced, isn't entitled to the land itself, they're entitled to some of what you spent or the equity of the built during.
So if, as my father-in-law used to say, the late Bill McLeod, God rest his soul, if they split the blanket.
Split the blanket?
Yeah, if they split that was his way of saying get divorced. If they matter, split the blanket.
Okay.
you don't sleep under blankets.
That's
If they split the blanket, forget it. It's a euphemism for divorce. If they divorce one day, then in the scenario you just described, where community money is being used to pay a separate debt,
right.
the non-involved spouse is entitled to a 1/2 reimbursement of all the community payments, all the community payments.
Right.
All right. So, like, if you've been paying a note for 5 years, then you get married, then you continue to pay the note for the next 10 years. 10 years worth of payment is community.
Gotcha.
So, if you split the blanket, the non-owning spouse is entitled to a 1/2 reimbursement of 10 years worth of payments or 5 years worth of payments. And you have to balance all that out in a community property partition.
Can you keep funds separate? Like, I want to go into the marriage with this account. It doesn't convert all of a sudden to community, like a bank account, right?
If you own it before marriage and you keep it completely separate by your actions, you segregate it off, and you don't commingle any community funds into it, it'll maintain its separate character. It will likely be deemed separate if you divorce or later die and have inheritance issues with other children. All right. But the best way to do that is to have an agreement, to have a prenuptial agreement, an antenuptial agreement, or a postmarital agreement that says that all the money in this account is going to be separate property. The marital spouse agree to that.
So you're pro prenup.
I am pro prenup.
Pro prenup.
Yes.
Even though it's
kind of like having a will. Only those who are going to get married need a prenuptial. No, I'm kind of joking. People don't understand the need for a prenuptial agreement unless you've been through a divorce, right? Then those who are on second and third marriages have a lot better appreciation. Yeah, we're not expecting the marriage to end. We're not saying the marriage is going to fail. We're not saying that we're going into this marriage with a 50-50 hope of success. What we're saying is that we recognize that there is a possibility that the marriage may not work out. And in that case, we want to have a calm, smart, planned out, decent and orderly dissolution prearranged in case it doesn't work out, while we still like each other and can still talk to each other, and that is still fair. So why in the world would you not do that?
My fiance and I are not doing a prenup, and the reason is I don't have anything.
Right.
I don't have any assets to split. So.
Well, that's so.
You answer your question, why not do one when you don't have anything?
Well, George Costanza did that in the famous episodes of Prenup. Sure, I'll sign your prenup, but yeah, it's to your disadvantage because your fiance has all the assets.
Right.
So you don't want a prenup. You want to come into her stuff. Yeah, and if it's acquired during the marriage, it's presumed community and separate property, very limited. 401ks, another big deal.
Yeah.
All during the marriage, all contributions made to a 401k during the marriage, even though your name's not on it anywhere. Community property. Something you got to be aware of as you navigate life. Hopefully all marriages work out for the best. Odds are 50-50. Anything else you want to add? Oh, by the way.
Yeah, I was kind of curious if you knew any Russian authors that had thoughts on these.
Actually, I do. So my incredible book club called the Totally Read Book Club just finished Anna Karenina. The
club is called No Big Words.
It's called the Totally Read Book Club. Fantastic book club. We just finished Anna Karenina by the famous Russian author Lev Tolstoy, sometimes called Leo Tolstoy. And on the topic of marriage, in volume 3, in chapter 23 of volume 3, this is what Leo Tolstoy says about the institution of marriage. In order that anything may be accomplished in family life, it is requisite that between the husband and the wife, there should be either absolute discord or loving harmony. But when the relations between the two are uncertain and there is neither one nor the other, nothing can be accomplished. How true it is.
How true it is.
You either got to be all in or you got to be all out. So I thought that was relevant for this discussion. I'm not sure why now.
I always thought Tolstoy made Dostoevsky look like Nietzsche.
They're both both great Russian authors. Community property, if it comes in during the marriage, it's community. Be aware of it. Plan for it. Inherited property, usually separate. look for prenuptial agreements. Always a good idea.
Pro prenup.
Pro prenup. Well,
prenup.
I think we should have had a prenuptial arrangement to end this episode.
Yeah, let's end this marriage. Right?
Let's end this phrase right now. You've been watching and listening to Law Talk, an episode bringing common answers to common legal questions. I'm Mark, the attorney Judson.
I'm sorry, Jonathan, Law Dawg.
Tune in next time for the next episode of Law Talk.